in Madison, Wisconsin for only 6 months. And during this December, John Carmack discovered the next computer by Steve Jobs, post-Apple company, and he wanted one. He saved up a bunch of money, and then he ordered it. And since it was Christmas vacation, the other 3 of us at id Software decided to go elsewhere for 2 weeks, somewhere warm, and John just stayed behind. The computer was ordered cash on delivery, so John Carmack, who had no car, had to walk through the snow to the bank to get a cashier's check for $11,000 to buy this computer. The computer arrived, and it was awesome. John learned how to program it over the holiday break. This computer was a dream compared to DOS PCs. At this time, we used to play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. We decided to explore 3D games, and we spent 2 months creating Catacomb 3D and shipping it in November of 1991. It used texture mapping, which was a hot new technology that hadn't been seen in the game yet. This was 6 months before Ultima Underworld came out. We decided to make an updated 3D version of the 1981 classic Apple II game, Castle Wolfenstein. We called it Wolfenstein 3D, and it took us 4 months to create and to ship the shareware episode, and then 2 more months to add 5 more episodes and a hint book. We created a hint book on the next computer. So, a month after releasing Wolfenstein, we were contacted by a Japanese Nintendo game publisher called Imagineer. They wanted Wolfenstein on the Super Nintendo really bad. So, since we were about to start developing a prequel to Wolfenstein called Spear of Destiny, we hired a contractor to start working on the Super Nintendo version. So it's in November of 1992. We shipped Spear of Destiny. We decided to make another first-person shooter. Although at this early date, the term FPS doesn't even exist. We don't know what to call our games other than 3D. We decided to call this new game Doom. At this point, it's just a word. There's no logo, or even an idea of what the game would look like. Doom would be our 5th first-person shooter. The first FPS that we made, Hover Tank 1, was a solid-filled polygon maze. Catacomb 3D was our first texture-mapped 3D game. Wolfenstein 3D was our first VGA FPS. Doom, however, would be a huge jump in technology. We moved the company from the 1-bedroom loft apartment to a black cube in Mesquite, Texas. We were on the 6th floor, Suite 666. Tom was working away on the Doom Bible, the very early design doc for Doom. He came up with several characters with names and their backgrounds and a lot of other stuff. He completed it at the end of November of 1992. This is a page from the Doom Bible that describes a preview of what the game will have in it. Some of these features weren't in the final game, like cinematics. We then took our Christmas vacation, and we were excited to start making this new game when we came back. It's January of 1993. Unbelievably, we issued a press release just as we started working on the game. We basically said Doom was going to have the greatest tech ever possible on a computer in 1993. This is a list of the features that the game would have, the most important being the last line, an open game. I was working on DoomEd, the level editor, and things were starting to really begin after the holidays. We started getting the engine working, the engine technology working, and the level editor DoomEd up on the screen. Tom Hall, pictured here, was playing with it and offering me suggestions. He was in a big open room and not in an office like the rest of us, so he drew lines on the floor with masking tape. At this point, Tom was testing the new engine, and he's trying to figure out what levels could look like. And creatively, it was a really big struggle. And then it's February. This is Adrian modeling the Baron of Hell model based on his sketch. Kevin was creating the imp in Deluxe Paint 2 on the PC. It was Photoshop of the 90s. When Clay ended up being a bad idea for monster creation, we turned to a Hollywood monster creator, and he made a few models for us. Gregor Punchatz, Don Punchatz's son, was a Hollywood monster model maker. The Spider Demon was the very first model that he made for us. It was made with latex and metal, and we needed him for the end boss of episode 3. We decided that since we were scanning most of our models with a video camera, why wouldn't we scan weapons as well? Even though it was Texas, we decided to get toy guns from the store. As the design of the game was influenced by the movie Evil Dead, we wanted to put a chainsaw and a shotgun in it too. This is the chainsaw that Tom Hall brought in. His girlfriend had one, so he just borrowed it. It was called the Eager Beaver, and we kept it in a bowl because it leaked oil. The shotgun was called the Tootsie Toy Dakota Cap Gun. Really incredible name there. We got it at Toys R Us close by. So at the same time, we're trying to figure out what the levels would look like. For our entire lives, the only kinds of levels, the game levels that we had seen, were 90-degree block walls of games like Wolfenstein 3D, Might and Magic, Ultima, Wizardry, Mini Maze, Labyrinth, The Way Out. You name the game, the maze game, and the maze was all 90-degree walls. There were no examples of anything else. So we had to come up with a new way of creating levels that did look like Wolfenstein 3D. John Carmack told Tom to get books about military building construction. Tom did that, and he got really bored with it, as they were not inspiring places to play in. Tom was starting to get burned out. So the first level in Doom was called The Hangar, and it originally started like this, with 4 Marines playing cards on the UAC crate table. Right here. Alright. So here's what Doom looked like on February 4th in 1993. It was called Evil Unleashed, Doom Evil Unleashed originally. So you can see the engine is just barely working, and we have this elaborate HUD on the screen that's taking up a lot of space. But we do have characters in, just a few of them, and you can see that they rotate as we move the camera around them. And we have a gun, and we have walls that are not all at 90 degrees. There's the Baron of Hell. He's really big. So we're still experimenting here. I mean, it's just the second month that we've been working on the game. It's actually been one solid month of game development, and this is on February 4th. So you can see we have some textures, we have wall textures, ceiling textures, and we have even animated characters within 1 month of starting this game. So, it's now March. It's our 3rd month of actual game development. Something kind of random happened one day. 20th Century Fox offered us the use of the Aliens license. So we seriously thought about theming the game around this license because it totally matched a lot of the ideas that we wanted the game to be. But then there weren't any demons in Aliens, just alien monsters, and that wouldn't be a new idea. So we just scrapped the concept of using the license and talking it over for only 30 minutes. But then out of nowhere, disaster struck. All work stopped on Doom. So Imagineer called. They wanted to know where the Super Nintendo version was. The contract programmer had done very little work on it, and they were not very pleased. So, yeah, we had to do the Super Nintendo port ourselves. So we had to learn the hardware. We had to learn how to program the Super Nintendo. And then we had to port the game as fast as we could. So it took us 3 weeks to finish it. So then we could actually continue working on Doom. So it's April. While creating map E1M2, I created a problem for John Carmack's renderer. These stairs slowed the code down, like way down. John had to find a solution, so he started reading various papers on algorithms. So he found a white paper from Bruce and Naylor about this data structure called a binary space partition. It was originally designed for backface calling of 3D models, but John adapted it for 3D levels to speed up rendering. This solved the problem with E1M2 and any other problems that we were going to have in the game. This is also the month that Don Punchatz, the illustrator, finished creating the Doom logo, and he began working on the Doom box cover. We also created our first alpha version that we could send out to testers. We're pretty happy to show some people what we were up to, not that many people that we sent it to. So this is what the alpha version looked like after only 3 months of development. It's on April 2nd, so we worked on it January, February, and March. Good old DOS. You can tell it's really 3D. You got rid of the Evil Unleashed tagline. And we had a menu here where you could just press keys 1 through 9 and it would load up 9 levels that we were working on. And if this demo ever got out, you can all kiss your Doom autographed hint books goodbye. That's what it said. So here's, you can see we're picking up some stuff. You can shoot the gun. We have some other player characters and rolling chairs that did not survive all the cuts that we made in the game. There's an imp. You can see down into a room. Very office feeling though. There's a lot of room, like square rooms, a lot of square stuff. We had some lighting differences, and we had some height differences, but it was just kind of the beginning. It wasn't really there level design-wise. Even the walls were really thin there on that one room. And you can see the walls being all silver like that were not very exciting. So, yeah, you can tell this is like boring. Kind of looks boring, but this is what a game looks like when it's being developed. So we're basically like, just switch levels anytime, switch to another one. And this was E1M7, an early version of E1M7, using cement textures on the walls, and you can see really far there. It's been a little bit more like a base. This doesn't even exist in the final room. Final level, this stuff has all changed. But yeah, all of this is different. So it all, a lot of times you develop something and you play through it, it just doesn't feel good, it doesn't flow well, feels like maybe there's too much gameplay or it's just too long of a trip. And so you go back and you just cut stuff and you revise it and you just iterate constantly on your design. And that's basically what we're doing here. This is E1M6, early version of E1M6. Got some flashing lights in there. I programmed everything that was inside of the levels, like switches and platforms and stairs and blinking lights and lava and nukage, green nukage. This is E1M4. So you can see all these levels at a super early, and there's the lockers that don't exist. So anyway, this was like very early. You can see that we've been experimenting with a lot of different levels, and many of those actually made it, but they got heavily revised. So now it's May of 1993. I finally finished working on DoomEd, and I'm ready to actually really start working on levels. Since the military bunker style just wasn't cutting it, something needed to be done. One day I decided that I was going to solve the problem and I created the abstract 3D level design style. I used E1M2 for my experiment. It may not look like much, but this was the first room that I made in the abstract design style. The final version of this room looks way, way better, but this was the start. Tom and the artist came into my office and I showed them, and we all agreed that this was a direction that we wanted to take. So here is a pre-beta version of Doom after about 5 months of work, third week of May. Didn't change the title screen, too busy. Now you can see that we actually have a menu. We've gotten rid of the gigantic HUD that took up most of the screen, and we're playing around with something that's much smaller at the bottom. And you can see that there's some menus in here that didn't make it to the final, like display options, changing different versions of graphic modes. So some of these things were in and some didn't make it. But we actually created a font, created a menu, and are playing around with more levels and kind of getting the game to be dark. And here's some key cards for the first time. You can see that we're playing around with lights, bright areas and dark areas. Doors are opening now. We don't have animation frames, but we can get rid of monsters. You can see that the game's starting to get dark a little bit. And there's a lot of stuff going on under the hood, so this might not look like a really big jump over the previous version, but there's a lot of stuff going on in all different areas of the game. And this level never made it into the game. This was this could have been a level that made it into the game, but we decided that it just wasn't right. And I think that health was from Wolfenstein. We just threw a health in there from Wolfenstein. So yeah, so you can see it's a little more gameplay. We now have our exit door, and that we're flipping the switch to exit, and now we have the intermission screen, so you can see what the game looked like during the intermission, and then going to the next level. So it's level end, level begin after the intermission, so we're getting the flow down a little bit more. This ended up being E2M2. This is a level that Tom Hall made. Still working on it. But we have some more final textures in here, like these brown walls actually were in the final game. Floor textures made it, ceiling texture made it. And now you can see, we're thinking about having damaging hall lights there, which we did. You have to watch out when it's blinking. And there's some items that you can pick up, which we did not keep. And secret doors. So we're just like having a lot of pickups. We now have the green armor for real. Lots of secret stuff, lots of things that you're picking up, things that you know that they didn't make it into the final game, but they were there because we thought that we were going to have score. Probably still thought we were going to have lives at this time. All right, so at this time, we're about halfway through the year, 1993. Chris Lombardi from Computer Gaming World comes over to get a sneak peek of the game, and he writes a really great preview article. It's the only one written about Doom. And also we realized that we have just way too many biped monsters in the game. We need some flying ones. So this was an oversight by Tom, and kind of drove him further away from the team. That's August of 1993, and Tom decides that he's going to leave id Software, and he's going to go to Apogee Software, who was our previous publisher. Tom decides he's going to work on a game called Rise of the Triad, which you may have heard of. And then after shipping it, Tom started designing a game called Prey. So we hired a couple new guys to help us finish Doom. Dave Taylor, and we hired a game designer named Sandy Peterson. So September 1993, Dave gets to work coding the auto map feature. Sandy is cranking on making levels. He took many of Tom Hall's levels and he just finished them, all the latest textures. With all the technology being made during the year, sound drivers took a backseat to the game engine. The technical hurdle with sound drivers was that the game was in 32-bit mode, so we couldn't even use our old drivers, 16-bit ones. So we found a thing called the DMX sound library and we licensed it. So now it's October 1993. We created a press release version of the game at the start of October, and this is what the press release version looked like. Now you can see this is E1M2. It looks pretty close to final. We now have characters animating, taking damage, dying. That's a secret door right there. I think that we still have, yeah, we're still picking up chests and demonic urns and unholy Bibles and stuff like that. Things that, you know, demons always leave lying around. That right there is, you can tell it's an old version of E1M2 because that's a platform, and there's not a platform there anymore, it's just stairs going up. It's a very slow platform. Even the outside is kind of dark compared to the one that the backdrop that we decided to put in there. But now you can pick up and use keys that look like the actual keys. And we have a little status bar at the bottom, like that's more final. And when you pick things up, it tells you what you picked up. Like, you got an unholy Bible. We now have our 1-up. Well, actually, it's a full health. We got rid of the idea of 1-ups. Wolfenstein had them, but Doom got rid of them when we got rid of the lives. We got chain gun ammo. But this is a big secret outdoor area, something that we decided that we're going to have more of. Instead of just hiding secret rooms inside the level, we decided if you could look outside, why can't you go outside? That would probably be really fun, so we started to do that. So you can see how much more complete this is. And this demo, this presentation doesn't have audio, but I think at this point we did have some audio in it inside the game. The lifts were way too slow. We definitely changed the speed of these lifts. Like, nobody wants to wait that long. And this has been changed as well on the top of the E1M2's stairs. And getting hung up on the walls. And then this is the room here that I originally did for the abstract level design style. This is what it turned into. And this is what we were thinking about that we could actually do. So yeah, so you can see a lot of the game is working. And we have darkness, and we have flashing lights, and it's created a pretty cool environment to play in. And we have sound that you can't hear. So, yeah, we're getting close to wrapping the game up at this point, so progress started really getting fast. You saw that even in early October, we still had pickup items that were useless, like demonic daggers and demon chests and other unholy items. I decided to get rid of these things because they made no sense to the core of the game. Earlier on, I removed the concept of having lives. It was enough to have to start the level over again after you died. So, it's November of 1993. And November had to be just about the most insane month in development. What we got done this month was the first multiplayer is created on network. The word deathmatch is created along with that kind of gameplay. Co-op mode is also created. All the systems in the game are coded. The intermission screens and the menus, installation program, the text files are ready. The serial code for modems is also created, and all game maps have been modified to support the multiplayer modes that we created. That was a busy November. So then it's December 9th, 1993. The day before we released Doom actually happened to be an important day in the United States. Violent video games was a topic hotly debated in Congress. Games like Mortal Kombat and Night Trap are shown as examples of the moral level that games have sunk down to. So they had no idea. The next day, on December 10th, Doom was going to be released. So we worked 30 hours straight to get Doom ready for launch, but we found one final bug. When we left the game running on all of our computers, some of those computers would look like they just locked up. The menu could be brought up, but the 3D gameplay would freeze. It wouldn't move anymore. So John Carmack thought about what could possibly be going wrong. Thought for just a few minutes, and then he figured out the problem and he fixed it. And we did some tests, and the bug was gone. And that bug was in the game from the day we started programming. So we could finally upload the game. Here you would hear a modem uploading sound. And we were connected to the University of Wisconsin. That's the mascot for the University of Wisconsin. We connect to their internet connection, and we're uploading the game, and there are hundreds of people waiting for the game, and it blows up the server. So the person in control of the server had to pull everyone out, and then everyone rushed back in again and blew the server up again. So we finally decided to get him to stop everyone from getting on the server, so we could just upload the full game, and then it became stable, and we started getting the game onto BBSs where more people could get it, and then it started going out all over the internet. So everyone was really happy. It was about 2 p.m. when this was finished on December 10th. And after Doom was released, the world changed. 3D games were really here to stay. Shooters were dominating the industry for decades. The biggest selling games today are first-person shooters. Game modding is incredibly popular, with many important game franchises that came out of modding, such as Call of Duty, Team Fortress 2, Portal, Counter-Strike, and many others. Multiplayer is a staple of games, and free-to-play is the most popular business model of our times. So I'd like to thank those who took the journey with me and made it all possible. It couldn't have happened without these people at that time and the support of the fans of our games. So this was who id Software was at the time. This was the entire company, including the secretary and the CEO and the testers and everyone that made the game. It was a small company. So thank you very much. After, I'm going to be able to do Q&A right now, and after Q&A, I have to leave to go to back to our table, which is at the Game Police store, just across the way, and that's where I do signing and photos, and we have lots of posters and books and shirts and all kinds of cool stuff for Doom and Quake and Sigil and stuff. So if anybody has a question, I don't know if you have a microphone or somebody ready to pass around a microphone.